Well, hello, it's the 3rd of October and we're about to walk down the Brisbane Queen Street Mall. It's about 4:30 in the afternoon and it's a lovely day. Last time we were down here it was night, but I've got a lot more battery power with this new phone and hopefully better quality as well. This Queen Street Mall obviously is a pedestrian mall on Queen Street. Well, it wouldn't be on Albert Street, would it, being the Queen Street Mall? The mall extends for around 500 metres, or for those who like feet, 1,600 feet, from George Street to Edward Street, and has more than 700 retailers, over 40,000 square metres of retail space, which includes 6 major shopping centres, Myer being the biggest one. And this mall receives over 26 million visitors every year. It was intended to bring more people into the central business district. I don't think this year we got 26 million visitors because of COVID, but it still brings lots of people into the central business district. Toy World up there, it's one of my favourite shops, by the way. Up the escalator. The Reject Shop. I know a guy who was sacked from the Reject Shop. Imagine how he would feel. Anyway, as we walk down, the mall was designed by Robin Gibson, who is an architect. Well, I don't think a toilet cleaner would design the mall. An architect certainly would design the mall. Not that there's anything wrong with toilet cleaners. I just don't think that they would design a mall. Although there's plenty of toilets, I would imagine, sprinkled around the Queen Street Mall, so the toilet cleaners would be very useful in that regard. Enough of the toilet cleaning, back to the mall. So it was designed by Robin Gibson, and after being closed to traffic in 1981, the initial pedestrian mall was opened in 1982 in order to be ready for the Brisbane Commonwealth Games. And initially, the section of Queen Street between Albert Street and Edward Street was petitioned off to form a pedestrian-only retail precinct. And then it was extended in 1988 to include the section of Queen Street between Albert and George Street, timed to coincide with Brisbane's Expo 88. This mall's undergone a few renovations and replacements and refurbishments. Underwent a $25 million refurbishment in 1999, which saw, among other things, the terracotta paving being replaced by granite. So that's the granite paving you can see there. It was terracotta. The Albert Street section of the mall was refurbished again in 2007, and the Brisbane City Council announced in 2009 that Burnett Lane, a narrow laneway that runs between George Street and Albert Street and parallel to the mall, would be refurbished and integrated into the Queen Street Mall precinct. I'm just going to do a bit of a sweep around here for you. There's Myer. The Myer Centre is the largest shopping complex in Brisbane. Just bring this around again. You can see that there's a lot more people in the mall, which is great to see everything picking up again. Back on the 8th of March 2013, this mall, by the way, was the scene of a 90-minute siege. The offender, Lee Matthew Hillier, had a long criminal history. He was shot several times with non-lethal rounds, which ended the incident, and he pleaded guilty to charges including assaulting police and going armed to cause fear. And in January 2014, He was sentenced to 4.5 years in jail. There's a stage there. A lot of bands come in and play, and up-and-coming artists wanting to get noticed, and even those who are successful occasionally come here and play for free to the people of Brisbane. Number of shopping centres located in Queen Street Mall, including the Winter Garden, which opened in 1982, the Myer Centre, which I showed you before, that opened in 1988. The Myer Centre, which is right in front of us, you can see the windows there, was originally on this side, on the left-hand side as we're walking toward the north. Broadway on the mall, Queen's Plaza, Brisbane Arcade, which we're going to walk through, that opened in 1923. Heritage listed Brisbane Arcade, by the way, and it hasn't changed that much. Q&A building, Queen Adelaide building, Tattersalls Arcade, just making up some of the shops along Queen Street Mall. And at the intersection of Queen Street and Albert Street, at the centre of the mall, is a 15-metre high, 49-foot steel structure designed to provide shade and cover from the weather. By the way, underneath this mall is the Queen Street bus station. So in the development of stage 1 and 2 of this mall, significant heritage listed building facades were preserved, thank God for that, giving the mall a restored yesteryear feeling. And you can see some of those shop fronts as you look down, and some of those facades, they're still original. There's the original Myer facade, you can see. Of course, as I mentioned, Myer is now on the other side. The Myer Centre, by the way, is Brisbane's largest shopping centre, Brisbane CBD's largest shopping centre, I better qualify. It almost has 200 stalls spread across 6 floors, including Queensland's largest department store, Myer, as well as Target and Birch, Carroll and Coyle. And as we walk down, continue to walk down the mall, we'll see if we can get into this Brisbane Arcade, which was built in 1923. The Brisbane Arcade, heritage listed shopping arcade at 160 Queen Street. It runs from Queen Street through to Adelaide Street. So we're going to go and check that out now as we walk down Brisbane's Queen Street Mall. Just doing a bit of a swing around here for you. I'm just going to bring the camera up to one of these buildings so you can have a look at some of the ironwork up the top here. There we go. As we continue down Queen Street Mall. Yeah, I remember when this was a Queen Street and not a mall with all the traffic running through it. Trams used to run through here too, by the way. There's McDonald's. right on the corner here. And that used to be a restaurant called Jojo's, owned by Stefan. It's now McDonald's. So we're going to turn left and go down this way eventually. But before we do that, we'll head on down a little bit further and see if we can find the Brisbane Arcade and just take a quick walk through there, and then we'll go back and we'll head down towards Brisbane City Hall. Still going down the Queen Street Mall. You can see it's just a great place. There's eateries everywhere. People are in there dining, great to see. Really good to see these businesses getting back to it. And what people need now is confidence. They need something to look forward to. And so do people, not just businesses. Here's the old Regent, and you can see some of the ironwork, the artistic ironwork just up on the top there. You can just see that as we're getting closer. Just got the phone just pointed up that way a little bit so you can see it a bit more clearly. All those giant butterflies and all that artistic ironwork up there. It goes on for quite a distance, but look at that. Yep. Okay, we've just gone past the Brisbane Arcade. I was too busy looking at that ironwork. It's not far, just a couple of footsteps back this way. And I'll take you quickly down, a little way down through the Brisbane Arcade. Goes through to Adelaide Street from Queen Street. There we are. The Brisbane Arcade. Here we are, 160 Queen Street. So the Brisbane Arcade is a heritage listed shopping arcade. It was designed by Richard Gailey Jr. and built in 1923 to 1924 by J. and E.L. Rees and Forsyth and Spearing, and it was added to the Queensland Heritage Register on the 21st of October 1992. It took that long to add it to the Heritage Listed Register. But the Brisbane Arcade was opened in March 1924. It was built for a cost of £70,000 for Dr. James Mayne and his sister Mary Amelia Mayne. Their father, Patrick Mayne, had purchased the property as two adjoining allotments. In 1853, allotment 2 of section 10 with the frontage to Queen Street, and 1854, allotment 17 of section 10 with a frontage to Adelaide Street. So with those two properties, he could put this arcade between Queen and Adelaide. The arcade was designed by Richard Gailey Jr., the son of architect Richard Gailey, and built by J. and E.L. Rees, Queen Street section, and Forsyth and Spearing, Adelaide Street section. It provided a pedestrian and commercial link between Queen and Adelaide Streets The arcade contained shops with frontages to Adelaide and Queen Streets, which they still do today, 20 shops on the ground level of the arcade, and a further 20 on the first floor. This arcade now has 50 shops. But this building here also contained office accommodation on the first level, and the arcade was one of a number of building projects in Queen Street during the 1920s, including Ascot Chambers 1924, Tattersalls Club 1925 and the Regent Theatre 1928. And although there does not appear to have been an official opening ceremony of this arcade, in the first week of March 1924, a number of tenants announced the opening of their arcade stores, which were full of luxury items such as silks, ladies' fashions, and also floral art. And just have a look at this beautiful arcade, isn't it lovely? All the original stained glass windows. If I can just show you some of this stained glass window here. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? All these original shop fronts, all the original woodwork, as it was back in 1922. The only things that have changed are the interiors of the shops. Apart from that, everything is original through this arcade, and it's great to see this arcade so well preserved. A little bit of history here. This architecture is reminiscent of the traditional European shopping arcades of the late 18th century, featuring Edwardian Baroque-style street facades, sleek and original terrazzo flooring, majestic lighting, carved balustrades, dado panelling. You see some of the original photographs of some of the stores in the Brisbane arcade back in 1922. This picture here is back in the 1970s, I think. 1967, I think, that black and white picture there. Spring Flower Show, 2019, that picture you're looking at right there. The Brisbane Arcade, 95 years, celebrating Brisbane's jewel in the crown. And because of the will put in place by the Main family, a fair amount of proceeds generated from this arcade goes toward medical research at the Queensland University, I believe. So it says built in 1923 here, but I've got information saying it was built in 1922. So I might have to look at that more closely and find out which is it, 23 or 22. Perhaps the land was bought in 22 and the building started in 23. There's probably more to it. And we're just going to go down toward Adelaide Street now. So Brisbane Hatters there. I remember this shop, there used to be chocolates in through here in this particular shop. It's now a Hatter's shop. Here we are now in Adelaide Street. But we're not going to go down Adelaide Street. I think we'll go back along this mall again. It's not really a mall, the arcade, beg your pardon, the Brisbane Arcade. And there's shops on the first floor. This is the ground floor. There's also shops up on the, as you can see, the railings up there, up on the first floor as well. Here we go. We're just going to turn right here. Go back the way we came just a little bit. We're going to head toward King George Square, where Brisbane City Hall is, the seat of the Brisbane City Council, where I know some people are saying, yeah, but Brisbane City Council isn't in that building anymore, but the Lord Mayor is. A lot of the administrative work is done outside of that building, but the Lord Mayor's office is still in that building, I believe, which we'll have a look at in a moment. So we're walking away from the Queen Street Mall. We're heading toward King George Square. Just a nice temperature this afternoon. Go across these lights here, I think. Hopefully we'll get a walk signal as soon as we get there. If you can see that building there with the red stripes, that used to be the SGIO building. It's in a different location near the river now. And there, across there, you can see Brisbane City Hall and the clock tower. There's the clock tower. Let's cross. You can see that church spire there up against that building. That's the Uniting Church. As it contrasts against the more modern buildings. Just going to turn around here and give you a bit of a look at Brisbane City Hall and the clock tower. Here we are, Brisbane City Hall. There's the clock tower. So the Brisbane City Hall is the seat of the Brisbane City Council. It's located adjacent to King George Square, which I'm standing in now. That's the main entrance that you can see right there. And there's also frontages and various entrances in both Anne and Adelaide streets. The building is considered one of Brisbane's finest and was listed on the Register of the National Estate back in 1978. The building's been used for royal receptions, pageants, orchestral concerts, civic greetings, flower shows, school graduations, political meetings, you name it. And in 2008, it was discovered that the building had severe structural problems. And after a 3-year restoration, it reopened on the 6th of April 2013. And I think we will do another video on the interior of this building at another time. The City Hall, right here, was once the tallest building in Brisbane. And this building was designed by the firm Hall and Prentice in association with 4 young New South Wales architects, Bruce Dellett, Peter Cadd, Emil Soderston and Noel Wilson. So you can see the street used to run right through here. The actual site that Brisbane City Hall was built on wasn't the best. The site was swampy, contained a creek, and pumping was needed to keep the site dry before they built upon it. That's why there were structural problems, and there was sinking in some areas, and concrete was cracking, and structurally it wasn't the best. So they had to refurbish the building at a cost of multi-millions of dollars. And as we mentioned before, that was completed in 2013. But way back when they were planning the site, which was swampy and contained a creek, a man died as he was inspecting the construction site. Although not complete, the building was occupied from the 3rd of January 1928. The Lord Mayor, William Jolly, presented a cheque at the time to City Hall, to the council, paying for his personal electricity bill. And that was the first official transaction in the new building. Brisbane City Hall was opened in 1930 by Queensland Governor Sir John Goodwin. Ooh, my name. And the building was officially opened on the 8th of April 1930 by Lord Mayor of Brisbane, William Jolly. However, it had been partially occupied since 1927. In 1969, the council commenced the acquisition of the properties to the south of the City Hall, and in 1975 opened the Brisbane Administration Centre, or BAC, a 20-floor tower and surrounding plaza. Most of the council offices then moved from this place, the City Hall, to the BAC, but the council chambers, located on the 2nd floor of the Adelaide side street of the building, the Lord Mayor and Deputy Lord Mayor offices remain here though, however, in City Hall. In the 1980s, work commenced on full-scale restoration of this building, opening up the side entrance vestibules and restoring a number of the reception rooms to their original design. These reception rooms are named for former local government areas subsumed into Greater Brisbane in 1925, such as the Sherwood Room and the Ithaca Room. From 2003, the Museum of Brisbane replaced administration offices and had galleries positioned on both sides of the building's entrance from King George Square. How about that? So lots of history tied up in this building. Lots of history. As we mentioned, serious problems were identified with the building, including subsidence, concrete cancer, a lack of reinforcing in the concrete and old wiring. And the Brisbane City Council set up a task force to address the issues, raise awareness, coordinate restoration and raise funds. And the Brisbane City Hall closed on the 31st of December 2009 for the 3-year restoration project. But it didn't reopen until April 2013 because there were large-scale restoration works needed. The restoration works involved replacement of all building services, electrical, mechanical, fire, hydraulic systems, structural works to building interiors, dome and auditorium, and conservation of the original heritage surfaces and building facade. The grand organs were removed from the building for the duration of the building works. The Museum of Brisbane was combined into a single venue on the 3rd floor. The Brisbane City Hall was officially reopened to the public on Saturday the 6th of April 2013 following a dedication ceremony and celebrations. The renovation cost, by the way, if you're wanting to know the figure, $215 million. Now, we mentioned a museum. This isn't the Museum of Brisbane. That's located on the Brisbane River, near the Brisbane River, in the Cultural Precinct, near the Entertainment Centre. There's also another entertainment centre, by the way, in Boondall. That's becoming very, very dated. So just another look at this clock tower. Yep. By the way, as we're looking at this clock tower here, yep. That clock tower is 64 metres. 64 metres, or in feet, 210 feet, rising 87.47 metres or 287 feet above the ground level, based on the design of the St Mark's Campanile in Venice, Italy. And when it was built, the 4 clock faces on each side of the tower were the largest in Australia. Each clock face is 4.8 metres or 16 feet in diameter. The hour hands are 1.7 metres or 5 foot 7 inches, and the minute hands are 3 metres or 9.8 feet long. And the clock has Westminster chimes which sound on the quarter hour and can be heard from the Queen Street Mall and at times in the surrounding suburbs. The timekeeping is controlled by the master clock imported from England. The dials, hands and slave mechanisms were designed and built in Brisbane by Synchronome. And above the clocks is an observation platform open to the public and accessible by lift between 10:15am and 4:45pm 7 days a week, absolutely free. And there's a viewing dome there up the top, as you can see, right up the top. So let's just bring this down again. Yeah, so from that observation viewing area right up the top of the clock tower, that gave extensive views of Brisbane. But since the relaxation of height limits for surrounding buildings in the late 1960s, with all the buildings everywhere, the view is now somewhat restricted. But it's still interesting to go up there, if you haven't been up there. So we'll go inside and do another video at a later stage inside that building, but the building is constructed of concrete, brick and steel with a base of Camp Mountain granite, and the granite was extracted by the first builder, Arthur Midson, from his quarry at Camp Mountain near Samford. And that extraction from the quarry was work just for this City Hall project. So here we are in King George Square. We just walk around a little bit. I'm just going to bring you closer to this lovely church. Don't forget to subscribe. And then if I get enough subscribers, I can do these as a live feed. And then you can talk to me as I'm walking around. Yeah, isn't that beautiful, that church? Uniting Street Church contrasts against the other buildings in Brisbane. See if I can get up to the top of the spire there for you. Yep. This, by the way, is Ann Street. Further up this way is the Ann Street railway station, which we will take you past on another video as well. Don't worry, we'll also be doing suburban areas of Brisbane, not just the city. And I think we'll finish this video fairly soon. You can also, even though this isn't a live feed, you can still ask me questions. Just type in your questions down below and I can get back to you if there's anything you want to ask. And also too, if there's an area in and around Brisbane or even further afield that you want me to record and talk about, perhaps suggest that to me and I'll do it for you. There used to be a fountain here, right in the middle of King George Square as well. So I'm just going to head back down toward the Queen Street Mall. As I finish this video, thanks very much for watching. And we'll be doing another video very, very soon. Whatever you're doing, have a great time. Explorer Man signing out.